text here I want you to turn to, and we can work on it together and meditate on it. Do you realize that how important it is for you to live in the Spirit of God? You know, like, do you uh, know what the flesh is and how strong it can be in your life, and the importance of processing life in faith and living in faith? Do you can you give some examples? And do you realize how important that is? So, would you ask your neighbor? Okay, so uh, Rita made a good point, and that is, when we walk in the Spirit, we have love and joy and peace. But in our present culture, uh, it seems like there's a self-righteousness that we see kind of evolving as a way of thought. We have a kind of a scandalous case with John Gruden, the head coach of the Las Vegas team, who has been canceled out. So he lost his job because there are certain reasons, which I'm not arguing that point, but I just say that there is a definite sense of like righteousness in our culture that is kind of put on us. But this need for us to be not self-righteous, but to be wise and to be loving and to have joy and be able to live in the world when you might get hurt, you might get offended because of the world we live in. Um, so, uh, what is cancel culture? It's like you have written an email or you've been in a photo that was inappropriate. Maybe even you were framed, and you find yourself like the world is judging you, and there's a self-righteousness that is happening, and you have to process this whole thing of being offended or something unjust happening in your life. It's a real thing. So here in Galatians 5, a little bit for the context is that there's a real freedom that happens when you are spirit-filled. My initial question was, do you find the importance in your everyday life of walking in the Spirit and the Spirit filling you? Why? In which way? Well, I maybe am mistreated in my family. Maybe my family mistreats me. They don't talk to me. Maybe at my job I'm mistreated or offended. The funny things that we say about the traffic, somebody cut me off, or like, those, that example doesn't really resonate so much with me. But to lose your job, or to lose a family member, or for there to be an argument and friends are separated and they're not talking, to learn about forgiveness, these are big things in people's lives. And there's a great need for us to walk in the Spirit. Remember, the spiritual life is not a life solely of reason. It's a life of love. It is reasonable, but it's more than reason. Like if somebody stole from you $1,000, it'd be reasonable for you to go get it back, or to be restored in your relationship, or to forgive, or whatever. Like, that's reasonable, but then there is love that passes understanding. There is a filling of the Spirit and teaching me to walk in the Spirit. Very important. So it's not just like moment by moment, I got a parking ticket, I was angry about it, and I decided to forgive them and pay my ticket. Okay, really, is that a big deal? Yeah, it can be. Okay, it can be. But what about, like, real hurtful things that happen? What about real hurtful things? And how do I also build relationships with people? What if I'm alone and I'm lonely, and I need to learn to walk in the Spirit so that I have fellowship, right? Okay, so go to the text. It's Galatians 5 in verse 13. For you, brethren, have been called to liberty. Only do not use liberty as an opportunity for the flesh. How would that happen? I have liberty, and it gives me a sense of I can do what I want, I can say what I want, I can go where I want, I can behave as I want, I can get in an argument with somebody because I'm in the Spirit. I can use my liberty and do because I'm in the Spirit, But it says, don't use your liberty to, it can be like an arrogance, but the being Spirit-filled is you are humble. When you are Spirit-filled, you are like sensitive to other people and what you say and how you behave, Okay, Galatians 5:14. For all the law is fulfilled in one word. Even in this you shall love your neighbor as yourself. So being kind, considerate, this is the fruit of the Spirit regarding our neighbors, which are people that literally live next door to us, but also the person standing next to me, or the person that's at the table, or the person that, I see in the parking lot, or, somebody I don't know that at Walmart in the parking lot, or everybody is my neighbor. And to love them as myself, right? This is the fulfilling of the law. Verse 15. But if you bite and devour one another, and beware lest you be consumed by one another. There is a pastor that I've heard about who has a black list. The black list is, the people that have fallen out of favor with him. Like if you have you've shown disloyalty. And some men I've noticed, like, they test your loyalty. And it goes like this. I'm sitting here, and I ask you to sit here. I ask you to sit here. Will you sit here? And the person says, no, I'm not going to sit there. Thank you, but I'm not sitting there. So to him, it's like he drew a line, sit there, and if you will obey me, then you're on my side. If you are loyal to me, you're on my side. So, but if you're not obedient, you're not loyal, then, I will test you again. And I will test you, until finally I realize that you and I have an issue, and so you go on my blacklist. Where is that coming from? Huh? Flesh. It's the flesh. It's my desire to have a relationship with you isn't based on me ministering to you. It's based on you being loyal to me. Me testing you. But that guy that goes on my blacklist might have been a good friend for me. Might have been somebody I need around me. Somebody that'll tell me the truth. Somebody that'll be helpful for me. Somebody that will help govern my life by disagreeing with me and not being what's called a yes man, right? Why do I bring it up? It's because in our lives, in principle, being spirit-filled is such an honor and will save us from so much trouble and help us in life so we have fruit. The fruitfulness of an encouraging life. Somebody who isn't insecure, somebody who is helpful, somebody that's going to be able to minister life to me, right? So go to the verse there, please. Biting and devouring one another. So I go on his blacklist, let's say. Now, I find out, that I'm not welcome. So what do I feel in my heart? I feel offended. I'm offended because I'm being mistreated. So then I start talking against him, and then he finds out about that, and now he's fighting against me, and he says I've made the right decision by getting rid of him, But actually, it should go the other way. That is, like, love makes it easy. When he is loved and he loves me, because we respect each other, this is so edifying. That's how a church is built and how people mature. And it's by the Holy Spirit. Okay, next verse is 16. I say then, walk in the Spirit. So what do you mean, walk in the Spirit? It means you know how you could go to a Pentecostal church and be filled with the Spirit, and then you leave the meeting, and out in the parking lot you have a flat tire, and it's not good. It's not good. I got a flat tire. It's not good what comes out of my mouth. It's not good what comes out of my heart. So I am filled with the Spirit, praising God with my hands in the sky in a greater grace meeting. And then when it hits the fan, when my troubles come, I don't do good in navigating that difficulty with my heart and my attitude, right? So walk in the Spirit, right? That's the meaning here. So it's a way of life. And you will not fulfill the lust of the flesh. Now, I just pulled off my desk this writing that will help you. I think it says touchy people and unsure people. Yesterday we began our meditations on negativisms and inferiority attitudes, and we saw that some assert themselves most when they are least sure of themselves. That's a good point. People that are least sure might be very bold and loud and assert themselves. It's kind of a protective mechanism. I know of a man who, I mentioned this, feeling inferior to his wife, asserts his superiority by insisting on buying her clothes and telling her what to wear. He insists on bossing her outer life, for he feels inferior before her mental and spiritual life. What would be the answer for that man? What? Yeah, humility, being spirit-filled. If he is spirit-filled, he's not inferior. He doesn't feel the inferiority. He is spirit-filled. Sometimes there's an alternation between aggressive attitudes and periods of discouragement and self-depreciation. Such a person ranges in temperament from very high mountains to low valleys. But often the attitudes of retreat and defeat result not in mood depression, but in slamming the door, walking rapidly, stamping the floor, arguing with people, spanking the children. These are manifestations of a difficulty not faced and intelligently approached. I would like to change that a little bit and say that the believer needs to walk in the Spirit and be filled with the Spirit. Do you have an attitude of retreating and being defeated? Maybe, but don't have that attitude. Walk in the Spirit. Rejoice in the Lord. I'm not defeated. I'm not retreating. I want to face my life with God's people. Okay, finishing. He creates outer earthquakes usually in order to hide his own inner soul quakes. Just as bodily shivers are an attempt of nature to bring up one's temperature when you're cold, so these shakes of temper are a psychological attempt to bring up the temperature of the inner self. The man is inwardly slipping, so he takes to outer shouting. This is the law of compensation at work. Touchy people are unsure people. They are looking for slights, or they have a subconscious feeling that they deserve them. You can tell, this is a good sentence, you can tell the size of a man by the size of the things that upset him. Good word there. What things upset you? Like, how big are they? You could talk at your table about it for a minute. What is the size of the things that upset you? What are they? By that, we can tell the size of the man, by the size of things that upset him.